Buckle up, because this story isn't just a flop. It's a full-blown Hollywood implosion that had even Disney executives sweating through their mouse ears. What was meant to be a dazzling billion-dollar reboot of Snow White, yes, that's Snow White, turned into one of the biggest PR nightmares in recent history. And at the fiery center of this disaster, none other than Rachel Zegler, the so-called new princess of Hollywood, who managed to alienate fans, offend co-stars, and ignite a behind-the-scenes war that made the actual movie seem like a boring footnote. Let's rewind. Disney dropped a jaw-dropping $270 million, 0 cents on this project. What could possibly go wrong? Oh, sweetie, everything. The public didn't just pass on it, they avoided it. The film barely scraped $88 million, 0 cents globally on opening weekend. We're talking about a box office number so bleak, it made straight-to-DVD sequels look like Oscar contenders. And the IMDb score? A mortifying 1.6/10, the kind of rating you'd expect from a cheesy soap opera about robot dinosaurs, not a Disney tentpole film.
Yeah, right there. Zoom in right there, that's it. 163,000 rating, of which it got 1.6, not out of 5.
So how did a movie with all the right ingredients go so horribly, humiliatingly wrong? Well, the cracks started forming way before we even saw a single frame. Rachel Zegler, handpicked to play Disney's most iconic princess, seemed more interested in throwing shade at the original movie than celebrating it. In interview after interview, she dragged the 1937 version, calling the prince a stalker and dismissing the entire love story as creepy. Oh yeah, she really said that. Instead of honoring the legacy of a film that built the Disney empire, Rachel treated it like her personal fixer-upper project. She declared this version would be more modern, not about love, and basically acted like she was single-handedly saving society from animated misogyny. Cute for TikTok, not so cute for Disney's core fan base, especially those who grew up dreaming of fairy tale romance. The backlash? Instant. Social media was lit with boycott threats before a trailer even dropped. Disney's golden egg was already cracking, and oh baby, the drama only escalated. Behind closed doors, the vibes on set started off okay, but once filming wrapped and the marketing machine kicked in, the real mess began. In August 2024, Rachel decided it was a great time to post Free Palestine across her socials. Bold move, sure. But here's the problem. Her co-star, Gal Gadot, who played the evil queen, is Israeli and has served in the IDF. The result? Chaos. Gal reportedly received threats and Disney had to beef up security for her, turning the promo tour into a logistical nightmare. Internally, executives were freaking out, and whispers began circulating that Rachel had zero clue how her post would snowball into such a volatile situation. Whatever unity the cast had was gone. At an early 2025 awards show, the tension boiled over. Rachel and Gal were forced to present together on stage, and while they smiled for the cameras, the frost between them could have frozen hell. Not long after, Rachel threw a subtle yet savage jab by calling Gal a professional pageant queen online. Girl, really? What happened to sisterhood? It was clear now. Disney had lost control of its princess. Their solution? Separate everything. Promo interviews scheduled apart. Red carpet carefully spaced. At the LA premiere, Rachel sat 2 rows ahead of Gal and her family like a royal decree from a war-torn kingdom. It screamed damage control. Things got so bad that producer Mark Platt reportedly flew to New York himself to beg Rachel to delete the controversial post. She flat out refused. Queen behavior? Maybe. Smart career move? Not even close. And speaking of career sabotage, let's talk about poor Andrew Burnap, the guy cast as the new Prince Charming. Sorry, Jonathan, because apparently even the name Charming wasn't woke enough. This role was supposed to be Andrew's big break. He said so himself in interviews. But then Rachel casually dropped a bomb in a promo chat, claiming that all of Andrew's scenes might be cut from the movie. Like, girl, why? She literally shrugged and said, what nows? It's Hollywood, baby. Imagine hearing that after spending months pouring your soul into a film only for the lead actress to publicly announce your scenes are probably going to the trash bin. And yet, Andrew stayed classy. He praised Rachel's voice and talent in the press, but the damage was done. His moment, completely swallowed by the drama. And just when you think Rachel might cool it, she does this. During yet another baffling interview, she laughed and called herself a narcissist when asked about Disney's Snow White attractions at the parks. Like, are you trying to fuel the backlash? But, oh no, darling. It gets worse. Enter Jonah Platt, son of the producer, who basically grabbed a megaphone and publicly dragged Rachel. He called her out for making the whole production about herself, saying she derailed the hard work of thousands of people, from lighting crew to editors to makeup artists, people who depend on these projects for their livelihoods. And yet, here was Rachel, turning a fairy tale reboot into a social media battlefield. Just as the dust was beginning to settle, boom, another political outburst. After the 2024 election, Rachel went on a fiery rant against Donald Trump, reigniting controversy for a family-friendly Disney film still struggling to find its footing. Studio execs, done. Internally, insiders say this was the final straw, but wait, grab your popcorn because here comes the plot twist no one saw coming. So just when you thought this Disney disaster couldn't possibly get any messier, Rachel Zegler decides to go full courtroom drama. Yes, darling. She was reportedly considering suing Disney. Let that sink in. The same Disney that gave her the lead role in one of its most expensive and iconic reboots. The same studio that bent over backward doing damage control for her countless media blunders, and now she was gearing up to take legal action against them. Why? Well, the whispers were wild. Some claimed Rachel felt mistreated during the promo campaign. Others insisted she believed she was being unfairly scapegoated for the film's catastrophic failure. There was even speculation that Disney had cut ties with her altogether, allegedly over what insiders called her woke outbursts. Nothing confirmed, of course, but the rumors alone sent the industry into a frenzy. And let's be real here. The fact that people actually believed she might sue Disney shows just how toxic that relationship had become. This wasn't just about bad press. The Snow White remake had become a full-blown Hollywood cautionary tale. Executives across every major studio were paying attention, taking notes, and probably drafting up brand new Rachel Zegler clauses in contracts. Sources say casting processes are now being restructured. Young actors, especially those with massive social media followings, are being vetted like politicians. Studios are tightening their grip with stricter PR training, media guidelines, and even contractual clauses controlling what talent can post online. One misstep, one politically charged tweet, one condescending interview, and poof, hundreds of millions go down the drain. All of this chaos didn't just hurt Rachel. The ripple effect was massive. Crew members, marketing teams, costume designers, even lighting techs who poured their souls into the production, many of whom worked gig to gig, were left watching their hard work crash and burn under a storm of negative headlines. The real heartbreak, these professionals had nothing to do with the scandal, yet they suffered the consequences. And while the media and fans were laser focused on Rachel's every move, co-stars like Andrew Burnap and Gal Gadot were left picking up the pieces, trying to salvage their own reputations in the middle of a circus. Industry insiders began asking tough questions. Why didn't Disney step in earlier? Why wasn't Rachel reined in before her words started hurting the very film she was supposed to represent? Maybe they underestimated her reach. Or maybe in this new era of influencer actors, studios are realizing they can no longer control their talent the way they used to. Gone are the days when publicists micromanaged every word out of a star's mouth. Now, one impulsive Instagram story can sabotage an entire rollout. And yet, while Rachel was taking hit after hit in the media, some still came to her defense. A few argued she was just trying to modernize the material, that her feminist take on Snow White was misunderstood, not malicious. They said she wasn't disrespecting the original so much as trying to make it relevant for today's world. But here's the tea, sweetheart. It wasn't the message. It was the attitude. If Rachel had approached it with respect for the source material and explained her vision without dismissing the original story as creepy, fans might have actually been on board. But instead, her comments felt like a slap in the face to generations of Disney lovers who grew up idolizing that iconic love story. She wasn't offering a fresh perspective, she was burning the foundation to the ground. And in an industry that sells nostalgia as one of its biggest currencies, that's a surefire way to get yourself canceled. Let's not forget, Disney has spent nearly a century perfecting its brand image. It doesn't take kindly to anyone, especially its leading lady, veering off-screen and throwing shade at the very thing the company is built on. Rachel didn't just step on a few toes, she danced across a landmine. The buzz now? that Disney is rethinking everything. Sources claim they're revamping their talent management system, auditing the online presence of every rising star before signing contracts, and doubling down on brand training for every actor tapped to front a billion-dollar franchise. One insider even leaked that studios are considering adding financial penalties for stars who damage a film's public perception online. Yes, we're entering a new era where being too outspoken could cost you literally. And then there's the real question everyone's asking. What happens to Rachel Zegler now? Some say she'll bounce back. Hollywood has a short memory and a long history of forgiving stars who cause drama. Look at Robert Downey Jr., look at Lindsay Lohan. Redemption arcs are always on sale in Tinseltown. But others aren't so sure. Some believe Rachel might become a risk in the eyes of producers. A brilliant talent, yes, but one whose off-screen antics could tank even the most promising project. And in an industry where investors want guarantees, that kind of risk is just too expensive. What's wild is that just 2 years ago, Rachel was being hailed as the next big thing. Her role in West Side Story earned her praise from Spielberg himself. She was fresh-faced, charming, articulate. But people loved that she spoke her mind. She seemed like a beacon of authenticity in a sea of media-trained robots. But oh, how quickly the narrative flipped. Now that same outspokenness is seen as recklessness. That authenticity? Rebranded as narcissism. The Hollywood pendulum swung with the force of a wrecking ball, and Rachel was left standing in the rubble. Even fans began turning on her. Some accused her of chasing clout, of using the Snow White platform to push a personal agenda rather than telling a timeless story. Others simply grew tired of the controversy and wanted their fairy tales served without a side of political warfare. Disney, meanwhile, is left licking its wounds. The studio poured hundreds of millions into this project, not just financially, but emotionally. They were betting on this to be their next Frozen, the next live-action success story. Instead, they got a PR nightmare that tanked so hard it might have scared them off princess reboots altogether. One exec was even quoted anonymously saying, "We lost the audience before we ever got the chance to show them the movie." Oof, brutal. And unfortunately true. Now here's the kicker. Despite all the chaos, all the backlash, all the fallout, the Snow White remake wasn't even that bad. Sure, it had its issues, but most of the audience never gave it a chance. The off-screen drama overshadowed everything else. The controversy became the story. Which brings us to the sad irony of it all. This wasn't just a movie. It was supposed to be a celebration, a revival of one of the most beloved characters in animation history. Instead, it became a crash course in how not to promote a film in the age of Twitter, TikTok, and viral outrage. Because let's be honest, this wasn't just about a bad quote or one offhand comment. This was a perfect storm of media missteps, unchecked ego, poor guidance, and total brand misalignment. And everyone, from the costume designers to the PAs, paid the price. So where does that leave Rachel Zegler? At a crossroads. Some say she'll take time away, regroup, and stage a triumphant comeback. Others believe she's already been quietly blacklisted from big budget projects and will have to rebuild her image from scratch. Only time will tell. But if one thing's certain, it's this. The Snow White scandal will be studied for years in Hollywood boardrooms, PR crisis workshops, and casting offices. It'll be the example whispered about when someone asks, what's the worst that could happen? Because sometimes the biggest bombshells don't explode on screen. They happen behind the scenes, when the fairy tale ends before the story even begins. And in Rachel's case, the glass slipper shattered the second she opened her mouth.